I'm here with the team behind Purely Peer. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me about it, guys. Could you start just by explaining very basically what the project is and why you decided to build it?
So, real briefly, it's essentially a game similar to Pokemon Go. If anybody's played that, where you drop prizes geographically and then you go around and pick them up. And the sort of canonical use case for this is, say, a coffee shop that wants to advertise themselves could drop like free coffee tokens around their town. And then players can go and pick them up, go back to the coffee shop and reclaim them. And So it's a really good tool we expect for merchant adoption. But I'll let Bit Architect speak a little bit more to some of the future plans and directions for that.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Just to avoid confusion, I come from the design and construction world. That's why the architect. Apologies for a little toddler sound in the background. He is actually one of the main inspiration. I wanted to create a game for him, a little bit of a treasure hunt. I like showing things to him when I walk around. So that's, I would say, that kind of a personal thing. On a kind of a crypto level and the industry level, I see this project and especially the demonstration that we are building. We are building a fully functional demonstration on GeoDrop.cash that doesn't necessarily have all of the game features and marketplace, trading, battling, and in-game interactions, and awesome tools that take days, weeks, months to build. But at least we have the bare bones on the GeoDrop.cash, and that GeoDrop is awesome because what it does, it answers several common questions for people from within and outside the crypto industry. With my architectural background, I do focus a lot on sustainable design. I like including circular economy in my projects, where waste outputs from one industry are inputs into another one. And in the kind of a real world experience, I see a lot of wasted output in the attention span. We are just getting bombarded with requests for attention from left and right, and we are not really being rewarded for that. So really, Purely Peer eventually wants to turn this model the other way, that we get awarded for our attention. And then once we have that positive feeling and attitude, just like when you walk down the street and you find a coin, you're actually happy to open your wallet, whereas most of the times you're not, because you have to be giving up something. And so through this process, through GeoDrop as the prototype, we create a game that answers questions such as, how can I get some Bitcoin Cash? Well, go and play the geolocation game. Where can you spend it? Or you can spend it at your local business. And what do I use it for? Well, you could use it for whatever the local business decides to accept. Sure, maybe at this point of the industry integration, they just accept tips. But even that's great, because if they accept tips in Bitcoin Cash and they've used GeoDrop.cash to advertise themselves, then they can advertise them further. So they have that way to close the loop and create this kind of a not necessarily circle per energy terms, but really a purely peer economy. I would like to encourage everybody to reread the white paper. Satoshi's white paper actually starts a purely peer and then everything else. So those are the very first two words of the white paper. And I feel like the industry has been sidetracked a little bit into the focus of other technicalities and aspects. But from the human aspects, I think what we all are trying to do is that purely peer economy.
Very cool. So, could you talk a little bit about what tools you're using to implement whatever Bitcoin Cash side of the functionality it is you're building? And even, if you guys are dividing up jobs, feel free to comment on the specific tools each of you is using.
Yeah, I'll speak to that first. We're using the tools that are available at fullstack.cash, which Daniel and myself have been building over the last year, and we're spun out from some of the open source software developed by Bitcoin.com. And so the wallet, the web wallet at GeoDrop.cash is based on the same Gatsby starter that is available at fullstack.cash that was used to build wallet.fullstack.cash and message.fullstack.cash. And we're also using the BCHJS JavaScript library which I think other teams I've heard have been using. So I'm very encouraged to see people use my work for this hackathon. And then for the map technology, we are actually using an open source software called Leaflet, and we decided not to use Google Maps because Daniel is in Venezuela, and apparently Venezuelans can't get access to the developer API for Google Maps anymore. Not sure why, but that's the reality, the wall we hit with that. So we're actually pretty happy to use an open source mapping software that doesn't rely on Google, as well as OpenStreetMap data. Daniel is more the front end guy, and I'm more of the back end guy. And then Jerry's been helping us with sort of diving into this new map tool that we've never used before. So he's been sort of educating himself on that right away. Daniel, can you
Very cool.
speak
Thanks.
for a minute
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
on the just the difficulties you've had there in Venezuela, and how these tools have been working out for you from there? His internet connection's not very good, so he might not be hearing us very well.
Okay, gotcha. Well, then maybe we can just move on to wrapping it up with what you think the biggest challenge or challenges will be from here on out in order to get your project done by the end of the hackathon. And again, if you guys are all sort of working on different things, feel free to comment on what in your job is probably the biggest challenge.
Well, we've had the same challenges that are pretty typical for every team in a hackathon. Just getting us all aligned on the same vision as we go forward, and then also just reducing the scope to something that we can accomplish within the time frame of the hackathon. I think those are common problems that every team has. Eric, do you want to speak to some of the other challenges that we've had?
Sure. I guess, as you can see, one of the challenges was also bandwidth. We have a team in 3 different time zones. The team is actually very well-rounded in terms of skills and what we bring to the table. We are not necessarily overlapping each other. Of course, there's an overlap of knowledge, but we have clear defined responsibilities, which works. We have backgrounds from 5 different continents around the world in terms of personal and professional experience. So that also brings a lot of good perspective. For instance, the bandwidth, we are testing it in different locations using different internet speeds. And then speaking to that, kind of again, wrapping it back to the human aspect, what we are doing is with GeoDrop.cash, and I think it's awesome, and I encourage everybody to go out there and start testing it. Even now, go and be an alpha tester. Right now, we are focusing on creating the token, having the token attached to geographic location, and having someone who is within a certain vicinity of that geographic location be able to retrieve it. So for that, we are charging approximately 5 cents. 10,000 satoshis at the moment. At this moment, that's the number that we are using is to cover the transaction costs, and the rest of it gets forwarded to ETH.BCH. Many of you know ETH.BCH supports many communities around the world and helps to provide essentials. And so by playing this game, you're not only making yourself happy, you're making many other people happy as well.
Well, that's great to hear. I appreciate your taking the time away from hacking to talk a little bit about the project. I'm looking forward to see what you guys come up with. Best of luck with the rest of the hackathon.
Thanks, John. Really appreciate your work in this.
Thank you, John.